Hello, my name is Tom Cronin. In 1991 and 1992, I conducted a comprehensive series of interviews on camera with a diverse, often eclectic cross-section of Orleans residents. Some I knew personally, others I had never met. All had a solid connection to Orleans. The intent of these interviews was to record through the eyes of the people and their experience, their history of the town. Funding for the series was provided by a generous grant from the Community Preservation Council of $18,000 and a further contribution of $12,000 from American Heritage Realty, now Cape Cod Ocean View Real Estate. I sincerely hope you enjoy our series, In Those Days, Historic Voices of Orleans.
Morning, Will. How's your morning going?
Extraordinary.
How long you been here?
Since 4:30.
You have?
They started calling us last night at 8 o'clock.
And
about 11 o'clock they finished. And we've still got people towing stuff up from customers down the bay. Yeah, as soon as we get our stuff done with the hydraulic tractor, you guys are going to start ferrying stuff in from the moorings and we'll forklift boats out.
Okay.
But that's not going to be for another hour.
Okay.
Well, those trap doors that go on the front of my boat, I took the cushions off.
Yep.
Should I take those trap doors out?
They're self-bailing. They won't fly.
They won't fly.
No.
All right, I'm going to leave my boat. I left the canvas, as I told you, to push back. All the rest is...
There'll be a police detail up there tonight as far as security goes.
Okay. I got...
No.
There's no lines for this boat.
Just last the two of them up right there for now. If you can get one of those yellow maps out of my office, I think I'll send you guys back with these and we'll redefine the plan for them.
All right.
You still got visibility down there?
Yeah, we still got that.
Okay.
Willie, how many of these boats are you going to try and get out today?
Everything.
Everything out of this harbor?
Yep. We've got boats, people, 4 boats ferrying boats back from Chatham. Nauset East, good morning. Will speaking. Hi. Yeah, there was a little bit of a problem. I'd like to discuss it with you, but we're in the midst of hauling everything in the bag. Yeah, I wanted to discuss it with you because there's no reason why we should have a difficult situation that can't be resolved. Appreciate it. Thank you much, Frank. Bye-bye. So the boats are bringing in people 2 and 3 rafted up at a time. As you just saw, we inadvertently got 3 or 4 of the wrong ones. But, That's the way life goes. Next question.
We've been here since 4:30?
We gotta call Bill and get the Captain Morgan's flowing.
Yeah, when in doubt, you can always fall back on Captain Morgan.
So we had all the drivers assembled at 5 o'clock this morning, and 2 trucks and 2 forklifts are here. We will fill up the ground, we will fill up the hill, we'll have a police detail.
We use 19 because I can't move anything else for the lift.
Yeah, can you get that duck boat off the middle rack? It was the last idea. If we can start spacing boats, these guys will feed you.
Yeah, I can't take anything smaller than 17 on my own. No, 17 I can't.
Yeah, we got plenty of stuff. Nice ladies up the top of the hill waiting for you.
That's my mullet.
Yep.
They will. Are you going to be pulling
Everything is coming out.
Oh, you are going to?
If you aren't in a hurry, and you can strip the canvas down and lower all the antennas, that will facilitate our job. We will do it otherwise, but anything that can blow apart, Peter.
Then I want to get back to the house. I got some things I got to do there, but I'll take off.
I think you do.
I came down this morning. I hear that Gorbachev is thrown. We have a coup in Russia and a hurricane.
I hope you're not doing any bonds investments today.
I just felt a drop of rain. Hey, Nicholas, shut that off.
That's more scary than this stuff.
Yeah, but this is more fun. Well, for some of us.
Nauset East, Will speaking. Can you guys get that boat up to us? I've got all my drivers out, and no, it was a little early. I could have done something about it, but if you can somehow get somebody, that'd be good. What's the visibility down there? That's another problem on our end. Our visibility up here isn't too good. Yeah. Yeah, it should come out of the water. Although, you know, you're in an extraordinarily sheltered place. In fact, I've told some of the fishing boats from Chatham to go in there. That is about the most sheltered place that you can get. My only concern for you is a surge of high tide. Your mooring is rugged and it's pretty well built. I think if anything can ride it out, yours is going to be protected. But if you could get an operator and bring it up here, we'll take it. All right? Thank you for calling.
So it's like you're traffic control here at the airport.
Yeah.
With the clipboard.
Who owns this car? We weren't supposed to have any cars down here. Need bodies.
Who owns that parking lot that's filled with boats? Up
Charlie Campbell. We got special permission to utilize that under these circumstances. You should, Frank, if you got any lines, tie off your floats. Tie off your floats on your dock. They are going to go. Right here. All the way down here. There's 4 boats. There's Governor Sargent's 19-foot power boat. Right here! 13-foot whaler. 13-foot beetle cat, white. Rhodes 19, blue. And the power boat of Sargent's. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yes. I'm trying to get wet. Should I be there? Not gonna wait. You can't do anything here. Yeah, as soon as we can haul it, we'll see what it is. You can if you want to stand around, but it's going to happen when it happens.
Alright, I'm still looking for a 19-foot Grady from Cantor. I'm looking for a whaler from McConkey. Let me see if I can find out what that is. Hang on.
We've got the truck in Falmouth, the truck in Hyannis, and this rolling stock here, and they're clearing Nauset Harbor and trying to do Cape Cod Bay. Cape Cod Bay is not as great of a threat because they'll be in the lead. Projections for...
Have you got a 13-foot whaler with a 40 Yamaha? Yeah, that's right. You have registration number close by. You are listening to NOAA. No, but I get the serial number of the boat or the motor. Broadcast office at Logan International Airport.
Yeah, that looks like a 40 on there. I'll run out and take a look into the name on it.
Watches and warnings being issued because of it. We have shortened up our normal broadcasting programming to provide you the latest, up-to-date, and constant information on the hurricane situation. Here is the latest local statement on Hurricane Bob issued by the National Weather Service in Boston at 9 a.m. Statewide.
Now we're really going salty.
We got about another hour, then I think the fun's going to begin.
Yeah, it's looking good because we can really make production with it once you get the big stuff out of the way, and 2 forklifts will pick away.
Okay, you got anybody that can bring that other little Cape Cod yacht sales trailer down? We could sure use that now here.
Okay, en route shortly.
Thank you. came down about an hour or so ago just to look at it while it was at its height, and the trees were falling down over by Schwartz's, and they were cracking.
What are the
Oh
noise?
God, it's
We're isolated.
You are?
Everything's down on
from about the Herringbrook
Keskoganset.
up to Whitelaws. There's about 18 trees just covering
Across
the
the
road.
road.
Yeah.
What a fucking mess. We lost about every locust.
How'd you do at your property?
Not well. We can't get by there now. Every locust, I think, essentially is gone. And as I say, I think the recession took the first 25% off, and the storm took another 25% off. So
But none of the trees hit your house, though, did they?
yeah. No, none hit the house, unfortunately. So.
What do you mean, unfortunately? You mean you could have made some money?
Of course. Sure, you could. In a down market, you could have.
Anything you can do.
Not yet. Not unless you
But Monument Road is pretty much devastated here, isn't it?
apparently. Yep. Right in front of the police station, there's a utility pole that's snapped right in half, and it's laying over the road and all the wires, so it's a mess. Absolute mess. They've got it blocked off.
That's probably where the electricity is.
And you can't get down 28 to get to them quick?
No, they close it off.
Huh.
I would say park up here and walk down through the woods.
Yeah.
Most sensible.
Park over by,
Yeah, but there's Aries. You could get to Aries and 28 and walk.
I'll tell you this. We had friends come, stop by yesterday, chainsaws just out of the clear blue, full of trucks. It was great.
Did you let them take the wood?
They haven't taken it yet, but they will. I felt bad we didn't have more cold drinks, you know, no ice.
So it was down to warm drinks?
Yeah, down to warm drinks.
you know how much I hate warm beer.
Hi. Yeah, come down. I don't know what the order of sequence is. We've got number 48 going in the water now, but that would be really nice. It would be a great help to us if you take it out when it comes. Okay.
When I left yesterday about 1 o'clock, and then I couldn't get back here because it was blocked out. So how did things go?
We were able to work till about 2:45, and then it was simply unsafe to, we just couldn't handle it on the water. It was too dangerous. So as a consequence, we had about 8 or 10 remaining in the water, 2 of which sunk here, and then there were 2 on the other side of the... two somewhere, I don't know. This one's East Egg, and that one's off Chatham, are sunk. We're attending to those. We've had several motors that went underwater, people are bringing in. And they say you just heard the phone call where the people still can't get down the bay, so they're going to bring groceries here, and we'll send the groceries down on a boat to an elderly people who are still inaccessible. And in Hyannis at our location, we had boats hauled out, 38, 36-foot boats. We thought they were safe, but the tide came up over the parking lot. We had 7 or 8 feet of water, which of course floated the boats. And when the tide went out, the boats laid down on their sides, so they're kind of horizontal. We're got them up right now, and they're in the process of launching them. Those that did not suffer damage.
How many boats did you actually get out yesterday, out of the harbor here?
I'm looking at probably 190 to 200 came out. Mostly from Meeting House Pond, but we towed some from Chatham. Ledoux will come. That goes up Namaquoit River. He'll come for it. If you can put it aside. Yeah, that'll be great, Dr. Clancy.
Do you think if you didn't move those boats out yesterday, they would have sustained a lot of damage?
Absolutely. If you go down to the west side of Pleasant Bay, that will tell you right now there's under Vera's house. It's pretty much all shards of boats that busted up on the beach there. Some good sized ones. Nauset East, good morning, Will speaking.
Orleans seems worse than Chatham. I was over in Chatham last night, and I
don't know why it bothers some areas more than others. Now, South Brewster, it doesn't have much damage at all, but I don't know why.
Yeah. I think it's locust trees. There's not that many in Chatham.
Yeah, locust trees. They're very shallow rooted and they're heavy leaves.
And it's dry. The soil's dry, yeah.
The soil's dry, and once the wind gets moving them, down they come. Down the village green, it's just absolutely incredible.
I haven't been into town yet.
It's just unbelievable. It is unbelievable. You won't believe it when you see it. The whole grove of locust trees, gone. It's gone.
Right in the village center. Oh, I'll have to get down there.
And I thought it would go that way, and it came this way.
Uh-oh.
And what other questions you got?
Yeah, Selectman Patrick, how do things look in town? Have you been around, done a survey?
I've been around, yeah. It looks an enormous amount of tree damage. I don't think we're going to get electricity for quite some time. It appears that all the primary wires, the primary feed throughout the town is going to have to be replaced, really.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Wow.
All up and down. I mean, the top wires.
Yeah.
They're down just about everywhere. And poles are going to have to be replaced.
So tell me, what are you doing here? Have you been volunteering once again?
Oh yes. Cooking. 3 meals a day.
Is that right? 3?
Yep. Got to keep these guys going if we want them to work. Got to put fuel in the furnace.
That's great.
This season when you get a chance?
Yeah. Come on.
He hasn't even let go of his chainsaw yet.
Everybody try and take it.
You haven't put that thing down in 3 days.
Audit's done a great job. She's been supplying us with all the food and doing all the cooking and keeping everybody going here. And we're probably looking at, yesterday we had over 125 guys working yesterday. The morning after the storm was total disaster. I mean, there was trees down, wires down, telephone poles, transformers. Most of the roads were impassable at that time. We had about 80% of the roads that were not passable. So we sent crews out starting to open up roads and open up things. Mm-hmm. During the peak of the storm, we ended up with a building fire down on Barley Neck. Had to stick a bulldozer in front of us and went down. It took us about 35-40 minutes to get to the fire on Barley Neck Road from the station here. It's a little more than unusual response, a lot more than unusual response.
Yeah.
Yeah. This storm compared to the blizzard of '78 did a lot more damage, and it took a lot more trees down, a lot more wires and telephone poles down than what the blizzard of '78. I would say that this is a lot worse than the blizzard of '78.
Yeah.
We were fortunate to the fact when the storm hit that tide was just starting to turn to come back in. So we were fortunate that we didn't get, if the tide had been high and getting the 10 to 12 foot sea increase, that height of tides that we were anticipating on getting would have been a lot worse, and we would have been in a lot worse shape than where we are right now. But we were very fortunate that the tide was down and just starting to turn to come back in again. It was probably up about an hour on high tide, which really helped us out a lot. We were very fortunate, and we were fortunate to the fact that we didn't get much rain at all with this thing. If we had got the rain that was anticipated, it would have done a lot more damage as far as trees down and wires down. We were fortunate to that fact that we didn't get into those. Some areas west of where we were ended up with about 10 inches of rain. We hit about 10 minutes at the peak of the storm for about 10 minutes. We were looking at 95-mile-an-hour winds, so which was very strong. As a matter of fact, at the peak, I went out during the peak of the hurricane just to see how much wind and damage we were getting. And from the time I left the station, I couldn't go any further than a quarter of a mile radius from the station. There was already trees and wires down at that point. Most of the areas that we saw with real heavy damage, the Pond Road area between Route 28 and Monument Road. Monument Road, East Orleans was a lot of heavy damage. The East Orleans area seems to be the heaviest concentrated amount of damage, and that's taken from, let's take an area from Nauset Road all the way to Nauset Beach, Bali Neck area, Pochet, Monument Road towards South Orleans. That is the heaviest hit area. Mayflower Point was a real disaster, Herringbrook Road area. It took us a while to get into there. As a matter of fact, we didn't open up in there until late yesterday afternoon before we could get Mayflower Point opened up. So that was a lot of the worst area was down through there. And South Orleans on Route 28 was a lot of trees down, but not quantity-wise as we were looking at in the East Orleans area. All the town departments are in right now working. We have the water department, the highway department, the park department. We have private contractors working with us. Let's see, Minot Reynolds Construction's working with us. Paul Daniels got a truck working with us. Forey Quinn has private contractors. John Martin, private contractors working for us. We've hired a lot of private contractors with machines and 10-wheelers to haul a lot of this brush away. And since the storm has hit, and Monday night when we started the cleanup, we worked until 10 o'clock at night, getting just mainly the main travel roads open, so if we had to go anywhere for fire response, we could get down through. And those were just open in one lane, so we could get just one lane of travel. Since Monday, and working up until today, Wednesday, we have right now about 90% of the roads in town are open and passable. We've started the major cleanup today of hauling all the brush and trees off the side of the road and disposing of that stuff. The night of the hurricane, or the afternoon of the hurricane, we responded to 3 building fires. We had one down off of Ory Lane and off of Bali Neck in East Orleans, 2 down off of Bridge Road next to the courthouse. Those 2 down on Bridge Road were due to electricity being turned back on, and they caused electrical fires inside of both buildings. We're trying to get some work done. The sooner we can open up a road, the sooner that we can push back and get the trees and stuff cut out of the limbs, the sooner Com Electric can come in and work. Our job is to be ahead of them so that they can come in and makes their job a lot easier. We don't touch any of the trees that are up in the primaries. We let them cut them out when they get there, but everything else to open the road up for them. The sooner we get that done, the better off we're going to be, because the quicker they can work and the quicker the phone company can work setting poles.
We've had some guys come down from Mass Pike Transport Authority.
The Turnpike Authority, yeah.
Yep, they're in here, so they've kind of picked up the slack from the guys that had to go back to their regular jobs today.
What are you serving today for lunch?
American chop suey, beef stew, hot dogs, hamburgers.
I loved your sausage yesterday.
Oh, thanks.
I think I had to eat all day.
That went very quickly.
How's the cleanup going?
Very well. We got some great people in town.
Yeah.
And all the help that we're getting from the Turnpike Authority?
Yeah, they've got 20 or 30 guys here. There's people from the New York Telephone Company. Where's some of the places where people are?
Washington, D.C., Oklahoma, someplace in Virginia.
How's the food?
Well, it looks pretty.
Because I think you're a pretty good judge of food, so I want to get back to artists.
It's good.
How many guys from Oklahoma are here?
There's 7 of us. 7 on this group. There's 7 on this group. I'm from upstate New York.
Uh-huh.
But
he got paired up with me, and we've been working together.
They had 7 guys come in at one time, and they put 2 men to a truck.
We'll probably be here for maybe a week, 2 weeks. It's just however long the power company needs us.
There's probably 100, 150 crews working just right here on the Cape that they brought in, plus your local utilities, which are here all the time.
Yeah.
And they're on 18-hour shifts, 18 on and 6 hours off. And they're working around the clock. They're staggered.
What happened was the boat next to me, it was upwind of me. The guy had put an anchor out. He put the anchor out, and instead of putting it upwind, he put it across the wind. So when those boats broke loose and came down through, the sailboats there, they hooked onto that anchor rope, and that pulled his boat and pushed his boat into my boat. If he hadn't had that anchor out, I wouldn't have had a scratch on that boat. Yeah. My best one off. If he hadn't put that anchor out.
When did the park department start cleaning up?
We started Monday, right after the storm passed over us. We started about 4:30, 5 o'clock Monday afternoon. It was pretty hellish. Just stuff all over the roads, down trees, power lines. You didn't know what was alive and what wasn't. We were over by Skakit Beach and on Frontage Road, and it was like a forest on the road. It was just unbelievable. But and then we were Cruiser Crossroad on Tuesday, and that was another scary sight with downed cables, and because they told us they turned on the power in some places on Tuesday, but they didn't tell us where, so we had to assume that all cables were live, and it was a frightening kind of thing. So you didn't know when you were going to step on something and get zapped.
I would say at one time there were 70 people in the store lined up at both registers, basketfuls of things, armfuls of things, everything that you could possibly buy. Right now I don't have one battery in the store, I don't have one roll of film, of course no candles.
So if you could restock right now, what would be some of the major items that you'd go for?
Ice.
Ice is number one.
I'm sitting here waiting for ice right now. But we don't realize, we just don't realize what a luxury electricity is until we lose it.
So while everyone else is running around in town in a panic over this hurricane looking for ice, you guys are fishing. Patricia, did you have a nice hurricane?
I wasn't home, my husband was mad.
What, do you got the sound too with that?
Yes, he's got the sound.
We got it all. When did you go fishing?
10 o'clock this morning.
On the bay?
Wellfleet Harbor.
Wellfleet Harbor.
I didn't
They got 2 weeks off, and this is what weather they get.
Wow.
They're getting bass off the shoals.
Yeah.
One got 6 today.
Legal ones?
2
out of the 6, but there was bunches. I heard them talking.
I heard a guy that got a big bass on his front lawn after
Yeah,
the
it was in the
hurricane.
paper.
Did you read that?
That's pretty good.
Yeah, well, you got it. Yes, you'd be all right.
When we went bass fishing, all we saw was fog. They pulled the curtain that motorboy on us.
Well, there's fog out there now, too.
Yeah, yes, you're right.
So Mac, I was down at Jack Goff's by the landing on Crystal Lake.
Yeah.
I was down at, the landing on Crystal Lake, Jack Goff's.
Yeah.
You ought to see what happened to it.
The big tree come down in it?
All the locusts.
Yeah, all of them come down.
All of them. Out.
Well, the big pine tree down south is leaning like that. Down next to the water almost.
I bet it didn't touch it.
I don't know. I think the pine trees were all right.
Boy, there's a vine growing on it and it's pulling. Some is that big around. It's pulling it right over.
Well, the whole area is devastated. There's over 50 trees down there.
He's got all of what he wants, ain't he?
And then some. Have you ever seen a storm this bad in Orleans with this much damage?
He's done a lot of damage in the other one. The trees are down, a lot of them. I remember Bonnell had a lot of land down at the Rock
Harbor, yeah.
And the trees, the little locust trees are down, and they asked me if I didn't want some wood, so I went down and cut some.
When was that?
After the 44.
44.
Can I get some sand nails? Do we have any ice?
No ice.
That's the big question.
Not
today.
at all. Not even a handful. The sand nails frozen? I hope. And do you have 2 sizes? The reason I say that, my son came back with large ones in one pack and small ones in the other. And the large ones were great, the small ones were a problem.
Mac and I are old friends.
Have a good day, guys.
Well, Mac, you wanted little ones and big ones.
Yeah. He got both.
Made a mess of this place, huh?
Wicked. Wires down everywhere here.
Yeah.
We hauled 152 boats, which we never understood until we launched them all the next day because we were too busy to count. But I went home that night and got as far as the town hall, went around 28 Crystal, tried to go in by Frank Joyce, couldn't get in. And finally I parked the thing, walked down there, got my chainsaw and started helping the people just to cut the street out so that emergency traffic could go through. And then I went down and helped Gaston's wife in there, cut trees out of there, and did Mrs. Mayo across the street and Mrs. Kistiakowski. And we lost 7 trees in our own yard plus electricity. We had another one of those large rigs up in Hyannis because we had boats on stands and the surge floated them off the stands. We had a 38-footer on the ground up there. We hauled boats for another week out of Provincetown and Falmouth and Chatham. We pulled a power boat total from storm damage out of Lewis Bay Marine. And they got it out of the water. They looked down and there was a 30-foot boat under it that nobody even knew about. That was trashed too. And the boats in Provincetown were inaccessible as Provincetown is difficult to work with those streets. So they had cranes raising them off the beaches and off of people's backyards. And in Falmouth, they had one of these helicopters known as a sky crane that was brought in from Seattle, and it serviced the southeastern Massachusetts area. Marion, Paden Aram, Falmouth, Woods Hole. At $5,000 an hour, they were chartered for, and they pulled boats out of the sensitive resource areas, marshes and stuff, which you can't take heavy equipment in. So it was
So you took 162 boats.
152 out of here.
152 out of Meeting House Pond on that day.
Well, they came out of, some of our customers were towing them up from Chatham and the waters of Pleasant Bay.
Do you feel that if you hadn't gone through that tremendous effort and gotten these boats out of Meeting House Pond, that there would have been some serious damage in here, even though it appears to me to be somewhat protected?
Yes, there would have been damage. It would only take one good-sized boat, and you see 38, 40-foot boats on the moorings out there to break loose and come down. And this, essentially, this marina, when it was built in the 50s, was designed for small boats. There was never a boat over 20 feet here. So while the property is well maintained, I question whether the 54 boats in the slips could have kept the place together. There's just so much wind. You know, we had sustained of 100 miles an hour for about an hour, I would say.
Right on your wind indicators?
Yeah,
there?
when the wind turned, the forces of the hurricane essentially were southeast here, and that was 75 or 80 miles an hour. But when we had to stop hauling boats because it was literally unsafe to maneuver around the docks, that wind went to the south, and that's when it honked, and that's when the trees came down in this town. That was the worst of it.
I came down here, I think it was the very next day after the hurricane, and you were already hauling boats right back in again.
Mm.
Did you get them all back in?
Yeah, I think there were half a dozen, you know, but they did. That's how we found out how many we pulled out. We had time to count them then.
Yeah. I would think that boats and boat owners and boats would be the first thing to that would really be cut back in an economy that's as bad as this one's been. What kind of a season did Nauset Marine have here?
Not bad. Better than I anticipated. We went into it with a lot of inventory. But surprisingly, we sold a lot of boats this summer. Mostly used boats, but we did sell some new boats. It wasn't as bad as, if you read the doom and gloom of the local and regional media, and you hear of foreclosures and bankruptcies and all that, it was a strong season. We've just come off of September and October as our in-the-water boat shows, Norwalk, Newport, Rhode Island, and Annapolis. The attendance at Norwalk, Connecticut was probably the equal of any of the best years. It was absolutely fantastic. And there were boats sold there. We have a commitment to build a 35-footer for a gentleman that we've been seeing at the shows for the last 2 or 3 years, and he's made his mind up to do it. That area of Fairfield County has a vein of money that people are going to do what they want. They may be retired and they realize they've got X amount of healthy, active years in their lives to enjoy themselves. So it's not a great thing to them. If they're thoughtful, intelligent people, and if they want to do it, they're going to do it. Of course, the overall effects of the last 2 years have taken a lot of people out of the manufacturing business, so there isn't as great a variety to pick from. But the people who have managed their businesses correctly and positioned themselves, enjoyed the good years but saved for the bad years, they'll be around.
So maybe this might be a harbinger, what you describe in the boat business, maybe a harbinger that we're beginning to emerge from the recession. Do you think business was better this year than in 1990? Or?
For us it was,
yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Cape Cod demographically, I would never say it's recession-proof, but there will always be thoughtful, intelligent people who, you know, they make sensible moves, but retired people or professionals, there's a core of them. You look at the building permits. There are more of those, and there's a lot of, there is residential building going on as well as alterations.
It's down considerably.
The adversity of the economy was very healthy, I think.
Mm-hmm. Just describe briefly what Nauset Marine, some of the more important areas that Nauset Marine involves itself in.
The diversity of the company, which is by design of Mr. Phil Deschamps, because he knew years ago it was a seasonal business, and to employ in this year 30 local capable people, skilled workers, he's got to mix it up so that he can keep everybody busy. And when the sales are down, the service backs that up. We have a distribution company because we represent Johnson outboard motors, Yamaha outboard motors, Mercury outboard motors, and MerCruiser inboards. Enables us to be multifaceted in that area as far as sales goes, and so we distribute parts from Maine to Pennsylvania to the smaller marinas that can't afford to inventory a great amount of parts. So that backs things up when another segment of the business is soft. The boat building is great because it reflects what real local skilled people can do. Another time we'll look at the boats, and the teak joiner work is the equal to what you're going to find in a fine yard in Florida, or say the Hinckley yard. Guys are capable of some beautiful stuff, but in order to hire that and keep that quality of person, you got to keep them busy, and you've got to keep them busy year round. Our transportation division, as you saw during the hurricane, we were able to marshal 6 or 8 drivers at a moment's notice and put the respective rolling stock in use when we needed it. Those stands, there's many thousands of dollars just in stands and blocking.
I don't think people realize around Orleans that you are involved in manufacturing. To what extent?
In the sailboat line, we have a miniature 12-meter sailboat, little sloop, and that's about 12 feet long or 10 feet long, and if you've ever sailed it, you sit in the cockpit at eye level with a seagull or a duck on the water. It's really neat and fun, but it's just a toy. A 15-foot catboat, an 18-foot catboat, and we used to build a sloop, which we no longer have in production. And in power boats, we build a 24-foot launch. It can be a day boat, a work boat. They're very popular as an inshore lobster boat. And a 28-foot traditionally designed displacement hull that is once again evolved out of the commercial workboat series, fishing and lobstering, line trawling. The 35-foot hull, here again, its evolution was in commercial fisheries. There are over 700 of them in the Gulf of Mexico, and we've got them, 3 of them in Bermuda we built in the last 2 or 3 years. That boat lends itself very nicely to yacht finish and recreational use. Somebody wants to go cruising for a week. We've done them for the government of Puerto Rico. As I say, there's 2 or 3 of them in charter work. They're an extremely safe, sea-kindly boat, and a pretty boat to look at. A 39-foot hull, power, we do those principally as yachts. And the 42-foot hull is the big brother of the 35, a design from Royal Lowell, who was the dean of New England lobster boat hulls. That's just a gorgeous boat, absolutely gorgeous. You've seen 5 or 6 of them in Chatham fishing.
How many boats a year then, on an average, does Nauset Marine produce?
Depending upon the complexity of a person's order, a workboat we can probably put together in 3 to 4 months. A detailed yacht can take us 8 to 10 months. We have in the work bays up there the capability of having 4 going at any one time, but the mix turns out to be about 5 a year, sometimes 7 if you jammed up. We have had the molds, been doing this for about 25 years. We originally started finishing boats for other builders, and having worked in the service end with regular production boats and custom working, we realized that we had the expertise to do what other people were doing, and that's how the building end of it evolved.
Where this manufacturing takes place?
The mold we leave in Portsmouth, Rhode Island, and the hull is actually cast. Up there we were using Pearson yachts. We've got some excellent tradespeople up there. We originally did our 27-foot hull 10 years ago down here, but the Cape is too sensitive for the chemicals and the processes that you're working. It's just not compatible with the area, so we had to farm that out. Once the hull is cast and the parts and pieces, they're trucked down here in the assembly. The engine beds are bolted into the boat and glassed into it. The shaft log, the strut, the underwater gear is attached depending upon the configuration of power. You might get a diesel, a single engine, a twin engine, and or in the case of a sailboat, people might want a wooden mast or an aluminum mast. So from that stage on, the work goes on uptown at the Main Street location.
What is your background with Nauset Marine? How long have you been associated with Nauset Marine?
That's kind of peculiar because I had a charter boat in Rock Harbor a long time ago, and I didn't have any money. I'd been a mate on a charter boat, which is how I came to Cape Cod, and I got drafted into the Army in Vietnam, and I came out and I said, okay guys, I want to go fishing at Rock Harbor again. And the captains all laughed and they said, you can't go as a mate anymore. I said, what do you mean, have I been blackballed? They said, no, you got to be a captain now. So went and got my license, came out, and says, oh, got to have a boat. I don't have money for a boat. And Phil had this wooden clunker that belonged to Bernie Weber, the Sinbad, and he wanted out of it. And it was a nice little boat. And I went around and around and talked to my family and whatnot. I couldn't raise any cash. So he said, what's your problem? I said, I got no money. He said, oh, well, you go up to the Cape Cod Bank and Trust and you see Wilbur Eldridge. He'll know you're coming. I said, what's he going to do? He says, he's going to give you a check. Well, up there, and Wilbur said, hi, Willie, sign here. And I took the check. No board meeting or anything. And we paid that off in a year and a half. I think it was about $9,800. And that first winter, I'd gotten married. And there was nothing to do in the wintertime. I didn't get any charters, so I went to work for Phil. That was back in 70.
1970?
Yeah, 70 or 71. And I learned about shingling and all that we all have to do to survive in the winter in Cape Cod. And then I worked with the Oceanographic Institute on the research vessel Chain for a season. I had run boats up and down the coast, delivering them to Florida. 72, I ran an offshore lobster boat, a 55-foot pompano on the continental shelf, tied up behind Harry Hunt in Harwichport. We did pretty good with that. Then they hadn't quite done the 200-mile limit governing the fisheries, and the foreign fleets were plowing up and tangling all the gear, and our losses were not sustainable in the second year. So we got out of that. And I was down in St. Thomas a little bit, always been around the shore. And I came back from St. Thomas not knowing what I was going to do, and that's when the town had the opportunity of buying this boatyard. And that was defeated on the ballot, and Phil bought the yard, and I was around at the same time. He said, do you want to come back to work? I said, sure. He said, I don't know what I'm going to do with you, but I'd like to have you. And about a week later, we opened this place up, cleaned it up. So I've been here 12 years.
That was 12 years ago that the town turned down the purchase
79.
of the Meeting House Pond Boatyard?
Yep.
And who was it that owned it then?
Charlie Campbell. That had been in his family. His father and I believe Willis Gould, same Willis Gould that was involved with the Frank Sargent's Goose Hummock. They were entangled with it. They started it, I believe. And then Charlie was in the Merchant Marine. When he retired from that, he ran it. Nice family type operation. We've got 3 28-footers that have to be completed, I guess by December 15th. One is going to Florida, one I think is going to Provincetown, and I'm not sure about the third one. And we'll be starting construction, finishing of a 35-footer, which is going to be semi-yacht done. And I don't know, we may pick some stuff out of Newport. We also got a lot of rehab work from that hurricane, which could keep the crew. That was a blessing to the economy in a little bit, because there was a lot of boats to be fixed.
And of course, they did have to be hauled and put back in.
Yep. And we'll finish winterizing the boat, which comprises the majority of the activity now till Christmas. And about then you start working on them, and the whole cycle repeats itself.
Mm-hmm.
Fix a few docks, and springtime rolls around.
Okay. Thank you very much. See you again shortly.
Au revoir.